Hey guys, tonight we are going on a quiet trip, a little expedition of the mind through the very architecture of reality itself. We're going to explore the concept of dimensions, not as a dry mathematical problem, but as places you can feel. Imagine the space in your room right now, the quiet darkness between you and the walls, the unseen volume above your head. We treat this space as empty, as nothing, but it's the stage for everything you've ever known. And tonight, we're going to walk off the edge of that stage. A small disclaimer. Our three-dimensional brains are, let's just say, not standard issue for this kind of travel. You probably won't survive this with your tidy concepts of up, down, and sideways intact. But that's sort of the point. Before we begin, if you'd like to join me on more journeys like this one, consider hitting like and subscribe. It helps our community find more fellow travelers with the same curiosity. Feel free to drop your location and the local time in the comments. It's always a strange comfort to know where and when everyone is listening from, as we all drift off together. Now find a comfortable position, take a deep breath in, and a slow breath out. Let's allow the noise of the outside world to fade away as we begin our adventure of the mind. You are lying perfectly still. Feel the weight of your body, the gentle pressure of the mattress supporting you. Notice the subtle texture of the sheets against your skin, the almost imperceptible weight of the blanket over you. This is your anchor. This is home base. This is the third dimension. You are familiar with its rules: length, width, and height. Three directions that define your entire physical existence. You can move forward and backward, left and right, up and down. Every object you've ever held, every room you've ever entered, has existed within these three simple yet profound axes. It's so fundamental, we don't even think about it. It's like the air we breathe, assumed, constant, and utterly essential. In the language of physics, a dimension is simply a coordinate needed to pinpoint a location. To tell a friend where a coffee shop is, you give them a street and a cross street, 2 coordinates, for a 2D map. To tell them which floor the shop is on in a tall building, you add a 3rd coordinate, height. There you have it. Length, width, height. Our entire, bustling, beautiful world, all accounted for. But what if that's not the end of the story? What if those 3 directions are just the beginning of the address? Imagine the space in your room again, not as empty but as full of potential directions. Let your mind drift from the solid reality of your bed. Let it float upwards, untethered. You are not just in a room, you are in a volume of space, a container. And the journey we are about to take involves a simple, quiet question. Can we find a way to move that is not forward, not sideways, and not up? Can we step outside the container itself? The thought feels impossible, like trying to imagine a new color. Our brains are hardwired for this 3D world, a product of evolving to dodge 3-dimensional predators and hunt 3-dimensional prey. But other creatures on our own world perceive reality in ways that are alien to us. Many birds, for instance, navigate using the Earth's magnetic field. They don't just see the world in 3 dimensions. They feel an invisible directional grid overlaid on everything, a constant pull toward north or south. To them, this magnetic sense is as real as our sense of up. It's another axis of information, another layer to reality. It's a hint that the universe has more secrets than our 5 senses let on. Honestly, trying to explain higher dimensions to a human is probably like trying to explain the concept of Saturday to your cat, who almost certainly understands it better than you do and is already halfway through a nap in a sunbeam from a parallel universe. The first step on any grand journey is always the hardest. It requires you to leave the comfort of the known. So let's do that. Let's begin the process of shedding our dimensional skin. Don't try to force it. You just allow the idea to settle. The idea that the solid world around you is only one facet of a much larger, more complex jewel. Scientists still argue whether the extra dimensions proposed by theories like string theory are real, physical places you could visit, or if they are simply elegant mathematical constructs that help the equations balance out. Tonight, we're not solving the math. We are assuming they are real. We're going to be tourists, and packing for a trip like this is frankly a nightmare. What does one wear to a place with no concept of size? So let the feeling of your body in the bed become your point of focus, your one solid, three-dimensional truth. Hold on to that feeling, the length of your limbs, the width of your shoulders, the height of your chest as it gently rises and falls with each breath. We are going to take these familiar concepts and shrink them. We're going to dismantle your world piece by piece, not to destroy it, but to understand it from the inside out. Prepare to get very, very small. Prepare for the world you know, the world of three glorious, dependable dimensions, to fold in on itself, gently and without alarm. We are aiming for the floor of reality, the absolute ground level. And from there, we will begin our quiet ascent. The process begins as a gentle collapse. Don't fight it. The walls of your room, which seemed so solid moments ago, begin to lose their definition. The shadows in the corners deepen and stretch, pulling the ceiling and floor together like a closing eye. Your own body, your anchor, feels porous. The space between atoms widens for a moment and then rushes inward. The feeling of length in your legs, the width of your frame, the subtle height of your breath, all of it is being drawn towards a central point. It's not painful, it's a return, a folding in of all complexity. Sound fades first, then the memory of touch, and finally, sight itself dissolves into a uniform, placid blackness. You have been reduced. All your experiences, memories, and physical properties are now condensed into a single, infinitesimally small location. You are now in the zeroth dimension. You are a point. There is no size here. There is no distance. The very concepts of here and there are meaningless because there is only here. You have a location, but you take up no space. Think of it, a state of being with no rent to pay, no emails to answer, no obligations to meet. It is the ultimate minimalism, just pure, unadorned existence. In the language of geometry, this is precisely what a point is, the definition of a location, a coordinate without magnitude. You simply are. There is no past or future, only a single, static now. It is peaceful, but it is also a state of absolute confinement. You cannot move, because there is nowhere to move to. There are no directions. But then something changes. A stirring, a potential, an urge that has no name. Your single point of consciousness feels a pull, and slowly, impossibly, you begin to move. As you do, you leave a trace of yourself behind like a pen touching paper for the first time. Your single point becomes 2 points, then a series of points, all connected in a perfect sequence. You are stretching. You are drawing yourself into existence. You have just created the first dimension. Welcome to the line. Your universe is now a single, straight path. Look, well, look isn't the right word, as you have no eyes, but perceive. Ahead of you, the line stretches into infinity. Behind you, it does the same. That is the entirety of your reality. You can move forward, and you can move backward. That's it. There is no side to side. There is no up or down. Those concepts are as alien and nonsensical to you now as that imaginary new color we spoke of earlier. The entire universe is contained in this single, thread-like existence. It is a profound simplicity. Imagine you are not alone here. Another one-dimensional being exists on the same line as you. From your perspective, it would simply be another point. You could sense its position relative to yours. It is either ahead of you or behind you. If it is in your way, you cannot go around it. There is no around. You must either wait for it to move, or if you are moving towards each other, you will inevitably collide. It would be the universe's most boring traffic jam. This linear constraint is total. In a way, you've seen this kind of one-dimensional information before. The very code of life, DNA, is stored as a long one-dimensional string of information, a sequence of base pairs, written in a specific order from start to finish to build a complex three-dimensional organism. It's a beautiful piece of natural programming, a 1D blueprint for a 3D reality. Cosmologists still argue whether the fundamental components of our own universe, the theoretical strings from string theory, are truly one-dimensional entities vibrating in higher dimensional space. These physicists wonder if, at the very bottom of it all, reality is built from something as simple as the line you now inhabit. You drift along this line for a while, getting used to the starkness of it all. Forward, backward. That's the rhythm of your new life. It's predictable, it's stable. But after a while, you begin to sense something else. It's a faint, peculiar solar vibration. A feeling that doesn't fit your understanding of the world. It's not coming from ahead of you, nor from behind you. It seems to be coming from somewhere else, a direction you can't point to, a movement you can't make. It's a gentle, persistent tug, pulling you sideways into a void you can't even comprehend. It's the universe sending you a notification from an app you don't have installed yet. The line is no longer enough. Reality is about to get a whole lot wider. That strange sideways pull becomes a constant companion, a gentle but insistent hum at the edge of your linear perception. It's a question your one-dimensional universe has no answer for. Then the pull intensifies. Your entire reality, the infinite line you call home, begins to move. It is dragged, perfectly parallel to itself, through that mysterious, unnamed void. As it moves, it paints a surface in its wake. Your consciousness, once a simple point, confined to a single line, is now free to roam across this newly formed expanse. You have been extruded. You have become a plane. Welcome to the second dimension. You are no longer just a point, but a shape. Let's say a simple square, living on a vast flat sheet of paper. Your world now has two directions, the familiar forward and backward of the line, which we can call length, and this new revolutionary direction of left and right, which we can call width. The freedom is intoxicating. You can swerve, you can turn, you can trace circles, but your world is still fundamentally flat. There is no up. The concept of height is a meaningless jumble of sounds. If a speck of dust were to fall on your world, you wouldn't see it until the moment it landed, and even then it would just appear, fully formed as if by magic. You look around your new home, this Flatland, but you can't really look around. You don't have eyes that can peer over things. Your perception is confined to the plane you exist on. If you look at another shape, say a triangle, you don't see a triangle. You see a single straight line, its closest edge. To understand its true form, you would have to travel around it, watching how that line segment changes in length and angle. Social interactions would be interesting. You'd have to get to know someone one edge at a time. It gives a whole new meaning to the phrase, showing your best side. This very idea was famously explored in a story from our world, written in 1884 by a man named Edwin A. Abbott. He called this place Flatland, a romance of many dimensions. In his version, society was a rigid hierarchy of shapes. The more sides you had, the higher your social standing. Humble triangles were soldiers, and workers, squares and pentagons formed the middle class, and the nobility were polygons with so many sides they were almost indistinguishable from circles, who were the supreme priest class. It was a clever satire of his own society, but it also became one of the most brilliant tools for helping three-dimensional beings like us wrap our heads around the limits of perception. Now imagine you are a citizen of this Flatland, going about your two-dimensional day. Suddenly, a strange phenomenon occurs. A single point appears from absolutely nowhere. In the next moment, that point has become a small circle, which steadily grows in size, holds at a maximum diameter, then just as smoothly shrinks back into a point before vanishing completely. What have you just witnessed? It would be a miracle, a terrifying, logic-defying event. But from a three-dimensional perspective, it was simple. A sphere just passed through your plane of existence. You only ever saw the two to slice of it that was intersecting with your world at any given moment. We humans have even tried to communicate in this way. In 1974, we used the Arecibo radio telescope to send a message to the stars. The message was a pictogram, a two-dimensional image made of binary code, showing a crude stick figure of a human, a diagram of our solar system, and the double helix of our DNA. But philosophers and physicists still argue whether a truly two-dimensional universe could even support the complexity required for life. Could a flat brain process information in a meaningful way? If a 2D alien race received our 2D message, would they see a picture of a human or just a confusing jumble of disconnected lines appearing and disappearing on their sensory horizon? You, as a square in Flatland, are now contemplating this. The idea that the miracle of the appearing and disappearing circle was not a miracle at all, but just a visitor from another place, a place with another direction, an up. And as you ponder this, a new sensation begins. It's not a pull from the front, or the back, or the left, or the right. It's a feeling of pressure, a feeling of being shadowed by something that isn't there. A voice seems to whisper from inside your very geometric form, not through the air, because there is no air, but from everywhere at once. It's like you've suddenly tuned into a podcast that's being broadcast from a direction you can't point to, and the host is calmly explaining that your entire world is just a sheet of paper on their desk. You feel a bizarre lightness, as if some unseen force is about to peel you right off the page. That impossible feeling, that lifting sensation, intensifies. The whisper from nowhere becomes a gentle but irresistible summons. You, the flat square, are being peeled off the page of your existence. For the first time, you are moving in the direction of up. As you rise, your perception explodes. You look down upon your world, the flatland you just left, and you see it all. It is a revelation so profound, it borders on terrifying. You see the triangles, the squares, the circles, not as the line segments you knew, but as their complete and true shapes laid out on the plane below. You see inside their houses. You see all sides of them at once. It is a godlike perspective, a sudden and total understanding of a world that was moments ago a series of linear puzzles. As you are drawn further into this new direction of height, your own form begins to change. Your two-dimensional square gains thickness. It stretches, it expands, it solidifies. You are becoming a cube. You possess length, width, and now this glorious new property, depth. You have volume. You can contain things. The world is no longer a surface, but a space. And as this feeling solidifies, it becomes familiar. The abstract geometry melts away and reforms into the feeling of your own body. The volume of your lungs, the space you occupy in the bed, the height of the ceiling above you. You have returned home to the third dimension. Breathe it in. This is your native reality, but you are seeing it with new eyes. Feel the sheer luxury of depth. You can move your hand, and it can pass over, under, and around an object. In Flatland, you were trapped on the surface. Here, you have a universe of volume to explore. It's this third dimension that allows for the most wonderful complexities. You can tie a knot in a piece of string, a feat utterly impossible in a two-dimensional world where lines can only cross over one another but can never be truly interlaced. You can have a secret hidden inside a box. In Flatland, every container is open to the sky that its inhabitants can't even see. Frankly, playing hide and seek as a 3D, being in a 2D world, would just be cheating. This deep, rich perception of space is no accident. It's built into your biology. The simple fact that you have two eyes is the key. This is called stereoscopic vision. Each eye, separated by a few inches, captures a slightly different image of the world. Your brain, in a constant, effortless act of miraculous computation, takes these two flat images and fuses them. It compares the differences, the parallax between the two views, and from them, it constructs the sensation of depth. It builds a live, three-dimensional model of reality in your mind. Close one eye and the world flattens slightly. The magic fades, well, just a little. The importance of this third dimension goes all the way down to the molecules that make you. The concept of chirality, a big word for simple handedness, is a purely three-dimensional phenomenon. Like your left and right hands, some molecules are perfect mirror images of each other. They have all the same atoms in the same sequence, but they are arranged differently in 3D space and cannot be superimposed on one another. This tiny difference in shape is critical. The molecule for the chemical that gives caraway its scent is the mirror image of the one for spearmint. One version of the amino acid asparagine tastes bitter, while its mirror image is sweet. Our world is not just 3D on the macro scale. It is fundamentally, chemically, and biologically three-dimensional. And yet, with all this complexity, Neuroscientists and philosophers still debate the nature of what you are experiencing right now. They argue about qualia, the subjective quality of experience. Is your personal sensation of depth, the feeling of the vastness of the room around you, just a complex calculation in the neurons of your visual cortex? Or is it something more, a genuine property of your consciousness as it interacts with the physical world? We take this 3D movie of life for granted, but how the brain turns electrical signals into the rich feeling of being here is still one of the deepest mysteries. It seems like a lot of trouble to go to, just to make sure you don't accidentally walk into walls. You settle into this familiar, comfortable, volumetric space. It feels complete, finished, and yet something is still missing. As you lie here, you are aware of a subtle, constant, undeniable motion. A dust mote catches a faint light, drifting lazily through the air. It's not just there, it is moving from one point in space to another. Your own heart is beating, a steady rhythm marking a progression. Your breath flows in, and it flows out. Nothing in this dimension is truly static. The perfect, solid cube of your reality is not frozen. It is flowing. It is changing. You are sensing a new current, a new direction. It is not forward, not sideways, not up. It is a pull into the future. That feeling of flow, the sense that your entire three-dimensional room is on a gentle, silent river, becomes your new focus. You realize it's not just the dust mote that's moving, or your heart that is beating. Everything, absolutely everything, is being carried along in this current. This is the dimension of duration, of change. This is time. Your perception begins to unstick from the fleeting moment of now. You are learning to see not just the 3D snapshot, but the entire album. You are moving along the fourth dimension. This is not just a poetic idea. It's the bedrock of modern physics. After Albert Einstein published his theory of relativity, one of his former teachers, a mathematician named Hermann Minkowski, realized its profound implication. In 1908, he declared that space and time were not separate things. They were inextricably woven together into a single, four-dimensional fabric he called spacetime. He famously said, "Henceforth, space by itself and time by itself are doomed to fade away into mere shadows, and only a kind of union of the two will preserve an independent reality." You are not a 3D object moving through time. You are a 4D object in space-time. To understand this, imagine a movie's film reel. When you watch the movie, you see one frame at a time, projected onto the screen in sequence, 24 frames per second. This creates a convincing illusion of motion, of characters living and breathing, of a story unfolding. Our normal consciousness is like that. We experience one moment, one 3D frame at a time, and our memory of the previous frame gives us the powerful illusion of a flowing present. But from a four-dimensional perspective, you are no longer in the cinema seat. You're in the projection booth, holding the entire reel of film in your hands. You can see the first frame, the last frame, and every single frame in between, all at once. The entire story is there, complete and static. This is the block universe theory. It suggests that the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously. They are just different locations in the four-dimensional space-time block. There is no special objective now. Your sense of the present is just your consciousness illuminating one particular frame of the movie. With this perspective, you could finally see where you misplaced your keys back in 2017, but you'd also have to see every embarrassing haircut you've ever had all at the same time. A mixed blessing, really. Now apply this to yourself. From this higher perspective, you are not a body that ages and changes. You are a single, complete, four-dimensional object. Some physicists will call this a spacetime worm. Picture it, an unimaginably long, twisting shape. At one end, it is small, that is you as a baby. The shape stretches and undulates through space-time, and every cross-section, every slice of this worm is you at a particular moment. A slice near the beginning is you on your first day of school. A slice in the middle is you right here, right now, listening to this. A slice further down the line is a future you. It's all one object, one continuous you, stretched out across time. So why do we only seem to travel in one direction along this path? Why does the arrow of time only point from the past to the future? One of the most common explanations is the second law of thermodynamics, which states that in a closed system, entropy, a measure of disorder, always increases. An egg can scramble, but a scrambled egg can't unscramble itself. A cup of coffee cools down, spreading its heat into the room, but the random heat in the room won't conspire to warm up your coffee. Your bedroom gets messy over the week all by itself, but it never spontaneously tidies itself. That relentless march toward chaos is what gives time its direction. The universe, it seems, uses entropy as its excuse for never cleaning its room. This whole idea is still a battlefield for thinkers. Physicists and philosophers still fiercely debate the block universe theory. Does the future already exist, a pre-written chapter in the book of space-time? Or is the future genuinely open, a landscape of pure potential, making our subjective experience of now the very cutting edge of creation? We don't have the answer, but from our new vantage point, holding the film reel of your life, another question emerges. You are looking at your space-time worm, this singular path you have traced through the fourth dimension. But what about the path you didn't trace? What about the worm that represents the life where you took that other job, or moved to that other city, or said yes instead of no? You feel a new kind of pull, not forward into your own future, but sideways, a pull off your film reel entirely toward another one, sitting right beside it, a universe where you made a different choice. That sideways pull, the faint tug toward a life you didn't live, is not coming from you. It's the result of something else. It is the gentle, passing gaze of a higher dimensional observer. For a moment, let's stop being the traveler and become the one being watched. From your limited frame-by-frame perspective, your life is a story, full of suspense and surprise. But for a being who perceives the fourth dimension as easily as you perceive depth, your story is a single, finished object. They see your space-time worm. Imagine a sculptor walking around a long, complex statue. The sculptor can see the base, the middle, and the top all at once. They can appreciate its entire form in a single glance. You are that statue. A four-dimensional being would see the moment of your birth, your first steps, your graduation, that awkward phase in middle school, the love you found, the loss you endured, and the moment of your peaceful death, not as a sequence, but as coexisting parts of a whole. Your entire lifespan is laid out before them like a landscape. That moment of pure joy you felt years ago, to them, it's a permanent, shining peak on your personal mountain range. That secret embarrassment you carry, it's a small, shadowed valley. They don't judge it, they just see it. Trying to explain the concept of a surprise party to a 4D being would be pointless. They can already see you at the party, before the party, and after the party, all at the same time. How would such an entity interact with you? Think back to our friend, the square in Flatland. As a 3D being, you could reach down and tap the square's 2D world. You could leave a little gray circle, your fingertip, that appears and vanishes. You could speak, and your voice would seem to come from everywhere at once. A 4D being could interact with our 3D world in the same way. They could reach into our timeline. What would that look like from our perspective? An object might appear in a locked room, seemingly from nowhere, and then vanish. You might hear a voice that seems to come from inside your own head. The famous astronomer Carl Sagan beautifully explained this, using the analogy of an apple descending through Flatland. The Flatlanders would only see a series of changing 2D apple slices appearing and disappearing, never comprehending the glorious, three-dimensional fruit that was the true cause. To be seen this way is to be known completely. Every moment of procrastination, every small act of kindness, every private thought is not a fleeting event, but a permanent feature of your 4D self. It's a strangely intimate thought. There is no hiding. A 4D observer would be the ultimate accountability partner, making you wish you had made your bed more consistently throughout your 20s. This idea of being observed by an entity that is not strictly physical but can influence our perception has echoes in many human traditions. The esoteric concept of a tulpa, or a thought form, describes a being created by focused consciousness, which can then seem to take on a life and agency of its own, communicating with its creator in non-physical ways. It's a fringe idea, of course, but it shows a human fascination with the possibility of consciousness interacting with us from outside the normal rules of space. This relationship between a higher dimensional being and our own existence has profound philosophical connections. Theologians and physicists alike have long debated whether concepts of omniscience and eternity in many religions could be interpreted as a description of a being existing in a higher temporal dimension. The ability to see all of time as a single, unified whole is, in essence, a form of omniscience. A being in such a position would not be predicting the future. They would simply be seeing it, because for them it is already there. And this brings us back to that sideways pull. The 4D, being looking at your life statue, can also see another statue right next to it, and another one next to that, an entire gallery of them. Each statue is a different version of you, a different timeline that branched off from a different choice. The life where you stayed, the life where you left, the life where you were brave, the life where you were cautious. That feeling you had was the observer shifting its gaze, its attention drifting from your timeline to the one next door. This place, this gallery that contains all the spacetime worms, all the film reels of every possible life and every possible universe. This is our next destination. It is a space defined by a new direction, a new axis of movement, the axis of possibility. To travel along it is to hop from one timeline to another. This is the threshold of the fifth dimension, You focus on that sideways pull, the call from the life next door. It is no longer a passive observation, but an active invitation. The invisible wall separating your reality from another becomes thin, like soap film shimmering with impossible colors. You are not moving forward into your future or backward into your past. You are pushing sideways through the very screen of your existence. The sensation is one of falling, not down, but inward. Your consciousness is being drawn through the celluloid of your own movie and into the vast, dark space between the projectors. The transition is a symphony of static. The solid reality of your 3D world, which flows so predictably along the fourth dimension of time, begins to flicker. One moment, you feel the familiar comfort of your bed. The next, you feel the hard-backed chair of an office you never worked in, or the warm sun of a country you never visited. Sounds overlap. A snippet of a conversation you had yesterday blends with a conversation you could have had tomorrow with someone you never met. It's a disorienting flutter, like twisting the dial on an old analog radio and catching fragments of a dozen different broadcasts at once. It's the universe's version of standing up too fast, but instead of your vision going dark, it goes everywhere. Then the flickering stops. The static resolves. You have arrived, but where? There is no floor, no ceiling, no walls. There is no up or down. You are weightless in a space that is not a space. You are floating in the realm of pure possibility. This is the fifth dimension. In the language of some string theorists, you have just entered the bulk. This is the higher dimensional reality in which our entire four-dimensional space-time universe is thought to float like a single membrane or brain in a vast, unseen ocean. You are now outside the membrane, looking in. From here, your life, your entire space-time worm, is visible as a single object. It looks like a long, softly glowing ribbon of light twisting through the dark, and next to it is another ribbon, almost identical but differing in one small detail, and another and another. Stretching in every direction you can perceive are infinite ribbons of light, an endless cosmic tapestry of timelines. Each ribbon is a complete universe, a complete history, from its big bang to its final whisper. One ribbon over there is a world where the dinosaurs developed intelligence. A few million ribbons to the left is a world where the Roman Empire never fell. It's the ultimate streaming service, and the catalog is infinite. Movement here is an act of will. You don't walk or fly. You shift your focus. You attune your consciousness. You think of a possibility, and your perspective drifts toward the timeline that contains it. You could, for instance, go looking for the timeline where you diligently practiced the piano for 10 years, just to see if all that effort would have paid off, or if you'd just be better at playing sad songs on rainy days. This feeling of realities brushing against each other has a strange echo in our own world. There's a phenomenon called the Mandela effect, where large groups of people share the same false memory of a past event. From this 5D vantage point, you could imagine it as a kind of cosmic typo, a moment where two adjacent timelines bled into each other, just enough to swap a tiny, trivial detail. The sheer scale of it is humbling, bordering on crushing. Every decision anyone has ever made, or could have ever made, has spawned another universe, another ribbon of light in this endless sea. Physicists who work on M theory and other unified theories still debate the exact geometry of these higher dimensions. Are they vast and infinite like our own, or are they curled up and microscopically small, inaccessible to us? In our journey tonight, they are vast, and the sheer number of choices, the cacophony of infinite possibilities, is overwhelming. How could anyone possibly navigate this? But as your perception adjusts, you begin to notice a sense of order in the chaos. The ribbons are not just a random tangle, they are grouped, similar timelines cluster together. Timelines that branch from a single critical event seem to emanate from a common point, like the threads of a tassel. There is a structure here, an architecture. This infinite, disorienting bulk of possibilities is not just a messy pile, it's a library. The sense of order you detected was real. This fifth-dimensional space is not a chaotic mess of light ribbons. It is a forest. Or perhaps, more accurately, it is a single tree of impossible scale. You are standing in a place where you can see the true shape of history. The past is the trunk, a thick, solid column of events that all timelines share. But as you look up, you see the trunk split into mighty boughs, which in turn divide into countless branches, then smaller limbs, and finally into a shimmering canopy of infinite, fluttering twigs. Each twig is a unique, self-contained universe. This is the tree of choice. You drift closer to a section that feels familiar. It's the branch of your own life. You can see the main limb of your childhood, relatively straight and simple, but then there, a split, a decision you made as a teenager. One branch veers off to the left, shimmering with the light of one possible future. Another veers to the right, glowing with a different hue. You can follow the path you took, our current timeline, and see it sprout and divide again and again. The choice of a job, a partner, a place to live, each one a new fork in the road, a new branch growing from the old. You can even zoom in on the tiniest of twigs. There's the one where you had toast for breakfast this morning, and right next to it, the nearly identical twig where you had cereal instead. It's all here, the grand and the mundane. For the first time, you can see the precise point where you decided watching one more episode was a better idea than going to bed early. You can literally trace the branch of minor regret. This startling idea that the universe constantly splits to accommodate every possible outcome has a name in our world. It's called the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Proposed in the 1950s by a physicist named Hugh Everett III, it's a radical solution to a quantum puzzle. It suggests that whenever a quantum system has multiple possible states, the universe itself cleaves into multiple copies. In one universe, the electron went left. In another, it went right. No reality is more real than the other. You are simply on the branch where the coin landed on heads. Your double on the adjacent branch is just as real and is at this very moment complaining about the fact it landed on tails. This leads to some deeply strange thought experiments. One is known as quantum suicide. Imagine a person in a room with a gun pointed at their head. The trigger is hooked up to a quantum measurement that has a 50-50 chance of firing the gun each second. After 1 second, the universe splits. In one branch, the gun fires. In the other, it doesn't. From an outside observer's point of view, it's a simple coin toss. But from the perspective of the person in the chair, their consciousness can only continue on the branch where they survive. So after 1 second, they will find themselves, against the odds, alive. After 2 seconds, the same. From their unique point of view, they would seem to be immortal, constantly beating impossible odds, while a graveyard of their other selves piles up on adjacent timelines they can never access. It's a morbid little puzzle, but it highlights the bizarre logical conclusion of the many worlds theory. You pull your focus back to the vast, shimmering tree. The rustle of its infinite leaves is the sound of every what if whispering at once. You could spend eternity exploring just the branches of your own life, tuning into the different spin-off series, the one where you're a celebrated artist, the one where you're a quiet librarian, the one where you actually figured out how to bake sourdough bread during that one phase everyone went through. Each reality is solid and true to its inhabitants. The sheer volume of information is staggering, a true ontological extravagance, as some critics of the theory say. Philosophers of physics still debate whether the many worlds interpretation is the most bloated theory ever conceived, proposing infinite, unobservable universes, or if it's actually the neatest and most elegant, as it avoids other, more complex mathematical problems. For us here, it is simply the landscape we must navigate. And in this cosmic forest of forking paths, you realize you need a map, a way to find a specific story in a thicket of infinite tales. The tree gives you the structure, but you need a catalog to make sense of it. The moment you conceive of the need for a map, for a catalog, the universe obliges. The perception of the infinite organic tree begins to shift, to realign itself into a new form. The rustling of countless leaves softens into the gentle, dry whisper of turning pages. The chaotic tangle of branches and roots straightens into perfect parallel lines. The ribbons of light, those shimmering spacetime worms, dim and condense, taking on solid, reassuring forms. You are no longer in a forest. You have found yourself standing in the silent, hallowed aisle of a library. It is a place of impossible scale and profound stillness. Towering shelves, made of a material that seems to be solidified darkness, stretch up and away into a misty, unseen ceiling. The aisles run on into infinity, disappearing into a haze of distance. There is no discernible light source, yet everything glows with a soft, internal luminescence. The air itself feels ancient, carrying the scent of old paper, of dry binding glue, of dust motes that have danced in the silent air for eons, and a faint, sharp tang of ozone, the smell of pure information. Every timeline, every what if, every parallel world from the tree of choice has been collected, bound, and shelved here. This is the cosmic library. Each book on these shelves is a universe, a complete, self-contained reality. You drift closer to a shelf. The books have no titles on their spines, at least not in any language you know. Instead, they seem to be identified by a complex, shimmering pattern, a sort of living symbol that denotes their core properties. You reach out, your fingers hovering over the spine of one volume. You don't need to pull it from the shelf and open it to read. The moment your consciousness touches it, you would be drawn in, living out a piece of that reality as if it were your own. The overdue fees here must be absolutely terrifying. The library's organization is a marvel of cosmic logic. It's not alphabetical. It is cataloged by the principle of adjacent possibility. Your own life is a book on one of these shelves. Next to it sits a nearly identical volume, differing only by a single sentence on the final page, representing a tiny choice you have yet to make. An inch down the shelf is the book where you took that other job. The entire shelf contains the major variations of your life. The next shelf up holds the lives of your neighbors. Whole aisles are dedicated to major historical divergences. An entire wing for worlds without the Black Plague. A whole floor for vertebrate life never leaves the ocean. This idea of reality as an organized information structure is not just fantasy. The physicist John Archibald Wheeler famously captured it with the phrase, "it from bit." He proposed that at its core, the universe is not made of particles or energy, but of information. Every it, every physical thing, derives its existence and behavior from bits, the fundamental units of information. This library, then, is the ultimate expression of that idea. Reality not just described by information, but literally made of it. You could probably search the card catalog for universes in which I am a morning person and enjoy kale, but you suspect that would be a very short, very dusty shelf. This place feels curated, maintained. It begs the question, is there a librarian? You sense a quiet, ordering intelligence here, a presence that isn't a person, but a fundamental law that sorts the chaos of infinite possibility into the coherent grammar of reality. The writer Jorge Luis Borges imagined a similar place in his famous story, the Library of Babel, a universe-sized library containing books with every possible combination of letters. Most were gibberish, but hidden within were all the great works of literature, and all their translations, and all their critiques. This library is less random. It contains only the books that represent coherent, possible universes. Information theorists still debate whether the total information in the universe is constant, or if new information is genuinely created as time unfolds. Is this library a static collection, finished since the beginning of time, or are new books being written, new shelves being added at this very moment? As you ponder this, your hand comes to rest on a particular volume. It feels different. The binding is worn. The energy it gives off is deep and slow. It feels ancient. It feels like an old book. And you realize the metaphor is deeper than you imagined. Your attention is no longer on the infinite scope of the library, but on the single volume beneath your hand. It feels ancient, and you understand now that the fifth dimension isn't just like a library, it is one. And the universes within it are not just like books, they are books, old books. And with that realization, the metaphor blossoms into a full sensory experience. First, the scent. You lean closer and you perceive the smell of a very old book. It's a complex aroma, rich with the history of its own slow decay. That familiar, faintly sweet vanilla and almond scent is actually the smell of the book's chemical components breaking down. Scientists know that the lignin, a polymer in the wood pulp paper, slowly degrades over time, releasing compounds that are closely related to vanillin, the primary component of vanilla extract. What you are smelling is the scent of a story literally digesting itself over eons. It's the perfume of time itself, of knowledge settling into a permanent form. Each book in this library has its own unique fragrance, a blend of its key events and overall entropy. Then the texture. The binding isn't leather or cloth, but it has the feel of something that has been held by time itself. It's worn smooth in places, its surface pliant and yielding. As you run your non-physical fingers over it, you can feel the subtle topography of its existence, the faint ridges and valleys that mark its major ages. The pages within feel heavy, not with paper, but with the density of moments. They feel like compressed dust, like stone that has been weathered by 1 billion years of rain. There is a palpable gravity to it. The book containing the complete history of a universe is not, as you might imagine, light reading. And finally, the weight. The book is heavy. It's a profound conceptual weight. It is the accumulated mass of every choice, every consequence, every life lived and ended within its narrative. A universe where little happened might feel like a slim pamphlet. The one you are touching, a universe ancient and complex, feels like a stone slab. It is the weight of a finished story, a tale that has no more pages to be written. Its beginning, middle, and end are all present, all bound together, giving it a final, immutable heft. You fight the urge to try and crack the spine, certain that some spectral librarian with a shushing finger of cosmic doom would materialize to chastise you. This is the essence of why the fifth dimension feels like an old book. Its stories are complete. The characters within are not wondering what will happen next. From the perspective of the library, the story is over. Its outcome is fixed. This connects to a strange idea from our world known as psychometry, the fringe, paranormal belief that a person can learn the history of an object simply by touching it. Here in the library, that is not a paranormal power. It is the standard way of reading. To touch the book is to feel its entire history, its emotional tenor, its great triumphs and quiet sorrows, all at once. Of course, this whole idea rests on a huge assumption. Historians and philosophers of science still debate whether history follows deterministic laws, making it predictable and story-like, or if it is fundamentally shaped by contingency and random chance, which would make the very notion of a finished timeline a contradiction. Is the book of a universe written as it happens, or was the ink dry from the moment of its Big Bang? Here in the fifth dimension, the books appear to be finished. They sit on their shelves, waiting. A book is passive knowledge. It holds its story in silence until a reader comes along, an observer, a consciousness to move through its pages and bring the story to life, if only for a moment. And the desire to do just that begins to grow within you, to move past the cover, to open the book and see the words. What happens when you, an outsider, a consciousness from another volume entirely, decide to read the story? Does the story change simply because someone is watching? You make the choice. You will read the book. With a gentle focus of your will, you push your consciousness forward, past the worn ancient cover and into the narrative within. There is no sound of a creaking spine or the rustle of paper. Instead, the world dissolves and reforms around you. You are no longer in the silent, dark aisle of the library. You are now inside the story. You are standing in a different time, a different world, but you are not truly there. You are a ghost in the machine of history, an intangible observer. The scene around you is a vast, sun-drenched courtyard of marble and stone. Scholars in simple robes walk past, their arms laden with scrolls. You are in a great library, one from an alternate history, a timeline where the Library of Alexandria was never lost to flame and folly. You can feel the warmth of the sun, smell the dry scent of papyrus, and the nearby sea, hear the murmur of voices discussing philosophy and astronomy. You can drift right through the shelves, examining the scrolls without touching them. You are a phantom, a pure point of view, watching the movie from inside the screen. It is a privileged, perfect observation. Or is it? In our world, at the strange level of quantum mechanics, there is a famous and deeply unsettling principle called the observer effect. The most classic example is the double-slit experiment. When scientists aren't looking, tiny particles like electrons seem to travel as a wave, passing through two available slits at once and creating a specific interference pattern on the other side. But the moment a detector is set up to determine which slit the electron actually goes through, the game changes. The electron abandons its wavy behavior and acts like a solid particle, going through one slit or the other, and the interference pattern vanishes. The very act of measuring, of looking, forces reality to pick a side. You are now the ultimate detector. Does your very presence here, your consciousness observing this alternate past, have an effect? Even as a ghost, your observation is a form of measurement. Are you inadvertently forcing the beautiful, uncertain waves of this universe's past to collapse into a single, less interesting state? It's the ultimate paradox of tourism. The sign says, "Look, don't touch." But here, looking is touching. And there's no cosmic help desk to call to ask about the rules. You focus on a specific scholar, watching him carefully unroll a delicate scroll. As you lean your consciousness closer to read the text over his shoulder, a strange flicker runs through the scene. The scholar hesitates for a fraction of a second, a flicker of what looks like confusion crossing his face before he resumes his work. Was that your influence? This hints at an even more bizarre, speculative idea in physics, retrocausality, where an event in the future can ripple backward to influence the past. Could your act of reading this history be subtly rewriting it in real time? You quickly pull your focus back, feeling like a tourist who almost sneezed on the Mona Lisa. The last thing you want is to be responsible for this entire civilization suddenly getting the lyrics to a pop song stuck in its collective head for no reason. A feeling returns, that quiet, guiding intelligence of the library. It is a sense of a rule, a fundamental law of this place. Perhaps you can only observe timelines that are so old, so heavy with settled history, that they are resistant to the gentle pressure of your observation. Perhaps the ink is mostly dry after all. Philosophers of information still debate this very issue. Does observation create reality from a shimmering field of what might be, as some quantum theories suggest? Or does it simply reveal a reality that was already there, solid and objective, all along? Your experience suggests the truth is somewhere uncomfortably in between. This close call makes one thing clear. Navigating this fifth-dimensional space is not without its risks. There are rules here, a physics of possibility that you don't yet understand. To travel safely, to browse these infinite stories without unraveling them, you would need a guide, a user manual for reality itself. You pull your consciousness back from the pages of that alternate history, the ghostly warmth of its sun fading, as you return to the cool, silent aisle of the cosmic library. The experience has taught you a critical lesson. This place has a physics of its own. It is not a lawless dreamscape. To travel here is to be bound by its rules. As you float in the quiet dark, that guiding librarian-like presence seems to impress upon you the user manual you were looking for. The first and most important rule is a law of conservation. You cannot change the past, at least not in any meaningful way. The timelines in this library are, for the most part, finished stories. They have a kind of narrative inertia. A physicist in our world, Igor Novikov, proposed a similar idea for time travel, which he called the self-consistency principle. It states that any action a time traveler takes was already part of history, leading to the outcome they knew. You can't go back and create a paradox because the laws of physics would conspire to make the probability of you succeeding zero. You might try to prevent a historic fire, only to find that the lantern you carried to see in the dark was the very thing that started it. The story is self-consistent. The book, in essence, edits you, not the other way around. The second rule governs your own identity, the danger of personal entanglement. As you browse these shelves, you might find a book that is an alternate version of your own life, a life where you were happier, perhaps, or more successful. You might be tempted to stay, to immerse your consciousness in that reality. This is unwise. Your consciousness is anchored to your home timeline, your original book. It's your library card. If you linger too long in another story, that anchor can weaken. Your sense of self could begin to fray, your own memories blending with those of your alternate self until you forget which life is yours. It's the existential version of going on such a great vacation that you forget your own address. The third rule is one of simple navigation. Mind the gaps. Not all books in this library are pristine, complete editions. Some are damaged. You drift down an aisle and see a volume that looks scorched, its cover blackened and peeling. This was a universe that ended in fire, perhaps a star that went supernova too close to a life-bearing planet. Further down, you see a book that is thin and blank, a timeline where life never began, its potential unfulfilled. And some are truly strange. There's a cosmological theory known as false vacuum decay, which posits that our universe might be in a temporary, unstable state. If a bubble of a true, lower energy vacuum were to form, it would expand at the speed of light, wiping the slate of reality clean and rewriting physics as it went. The burnt, empty books might be the silent memorials to universes where this has already happened. You make a mental note to steer clear of the applied xenology and risky particle physics section. All these rules point to a single, overarching meta-rule. The fifth dimension is a place of understanding, not a place of intervention. It is a library for reading, not a workshop for building. Its purpose is to contain the answers to every what if, but not to allow you to change the what is. Cosmologists and philosophers still debate the fine-tuning problem, why the basic constants of our universe seem so perfectly set to allow for stars, planets, and life. This library offers one possible answer. We simply exist in one of the successful books, on a shelf in a section where the rules of physics worked out. The countless failed, burnt, and empty books are the evidence of all the other attempts. Understanding these rules gives you a new sense of confidence. You are not a trespasser here, but a reader who has just been given a tour of the restricted section. You now know the risks. And with that knowledge, you feel a new curiosity. If this is the fifth dimension, the library of all possible 4D universes, what's on the next floor up? Your gaze lifts from the endless shelves and looks up. The question of a next floor becomes a tangible sensation, a gentle but firm upward pull, as if your consciousness were a balloon finally released. You rise, and the vast, infinite library of the fifth dimension shrinks below you. The endless aisles, the countless shelves, the infinite books, the entire structure condenses, flattens, and becomes a single, shimmering plane. You have just ascended to the sixth dimension, and you are looking down on the complete set of all possibilities that could ever exist under our universe's current operating system. If the fifth dimension contains every possible timeline branching from every possible choice, the sixth dimension is the plane that contains every possible library. From here, you could leap from the plane of our reality, with its specific speed of light, its particular strength of gravity, to a completely different plane, a different library governed by a different set of physical laws. Imagine a universe where gravity is twice as strong, or one with 2 dimensions of time instead of one. Each of these would be its own complete 5D library of possibilities. The sixth dimension is the space between the libraries, allowing you to hop from one cosmic rulebook to another. At this level of reality, the instruction manual would need its own, even more complicated instruction manual. This is the strange and beautiful realm described by our most advanced, most speculative physics. Theories like M theory, which is our leading candidate for a theory of everything, require a total of 11 dimensions to be mathematically coherent. Physicists believe that it is in these higher hidden dimensions that the 4 fundamental forces of our universe, gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces, all merge or unify into a single, elegant superforce. The reason our universe has the rich complexity it does is because of the way these unseen dimensions are folded and curled up, influencing our reality from a level we can't perceive directly. So what could those even higher dimensions, the 7th, 8th, 9th, and beyond, possibly represent? Here, we leave the map behind and step into pure, dreamlike speculation. If the 6th dimension is a plane containing all possible physical laws, perhaps the 7th dimension is the axis that contains all possible beginnings. A line you could travel along to witness every conceivable type of Big Bang. The 8th dimension might be a space of pure structure, containing the meta-laws that govern how the laws of physics themselves can be chosen. It's a dizzying, recursive thought. Your phone's GPS, trying to locate you now, would likely just give up and display a single, eternally spinning icon of defeat. There is a mind-bending concept in physics called the holographic principle. It suggests that all the information contained within a volume of space, like our entire 3-dimensional world, could actually be encoded on a lower dimensional boundary, like a 3-dimensional hologram emerging from a 2-dimensional film. Perhaps this entire stack of dimensions we've climbed through is itself just a projection, an image whose source lies somewhere even stranger, somewhere outside the concept of dimensions altogether. But here, at this dizzying altitude of pure abstraction, your human-born consciousness reaches its limit. The concepts become too vast, the forms too alien. The universe no longer has a sensory form like a library or a tree. It is now pure mathematics, a set of relationships without a physical form to hang upon. It is beautiful, but it is also cold and incomprehensible. Theoreticians still debate whether these higher dimensions, predicted by M-theory, are real places, however strange, or if they are purely mathematical artifacts, destined to forever remain elegant equations on a blackboard. You have reached the summit of this particular mountain of thought. You have peered into the engine room of reality, and it has overwhelmed you with its sublime, untouchable complexity. From this peak, you feel a new pull. It is not upward into further abstraction, but downward, a gentle, familiar, reassuring tug. It's the call of home. The journey of ascent is over. It is time to begin the slow, quiet journey back. You let go, you release your hold on the incomprehensible abstractions of the highest dimensions, and you begin to drift down. It is a gentle, controlled fall through pure logic, through layers of mathematics that dissolve around you. The cold, sharp clarity of it all softens, and structure begins to reappear. You land with the softness of a falling feather onto the vast plane of the sixth dimension. Below you, a single, shimmering surface stands out from the infinite array of possibilities. It is the library of your home universe, and it is pulling you back. You sink through the boundary, and the silent, familiar aisles of the cosmic library welcome you. The scent of old stories and settled dust is a profound comfort after the starkness of the higher planes. You'll never complain about the confusing layout of your local public library ever again. That quiet, guiding presence you felt throughout your journey is stronger now, directing you through the endless shelves, past the histories of alien worlds and forgotten empires. It leads you back to that one specific shelf, to that one specific aisle, to the section containing the story of you. There it is, your book. The binding is reassuringly familiar, its unique energetic signature a warm and welcoming glow. As you reach for it, a comforting thought occurs to you, a consequence of Einstein's theory of relativity. The theory predicts an effect called time dilation, where time can pass at different rates for different observers. For someone traveling near the speed of light, time slows down. For you, having been completely outside the dimension of time, journeying through possibility and abstraction, barely any time has passed at all within the book of your own life. You are returning to the very moment you left. You haven't missed a thing. You place your consciousness on the cover of your book, and this time, you are not a ghostly visitor. You are the rightful owner of the story. You are drawn in completely, your awareness aligning and merging perfectly with your own four-dimensional spacetime worm. The grand, panoramic view of your entire life, from its beginning to its end, collapses. The film reel stops being an object you can hold and starts playing again, one frame at a time. The flowing river of the present moment embraces you, and the arrow of time once again points you firmly toward your own future. For a fleeting moment, as your reality reasserts itself, you might feel a faint echo of the journey. This is the sensation of déjà vu, the strange feeling you've lived this exact moment before. In a way, you have. You've seen this frame already from the projection booth. It's no wonder life feels like a rerun sometimes. Now the final gentle collapse begins. Your world, which just moments ago was a library containing infinite timelines, must return to its simple, comfortable form. The rich, solid feeling of three-dimensional space, the luxury of depth, flattens for a split second. Your perception becomes a 2D plane, a brief, painless memory of Flatland. Then, that plane narrows, its width collapsing until all that is left is a single 1D line of pure forward and backward sensation. And finally, that line shrinks, pulling in on itself until your entire awareness is once again a single dimensionless point. You hover here for a final, silent moment in the zero-dimensional void of pure potential. Then, from this single point, reality blossoms. Cognitive scientists still debate the binding problem, how our brain seamlessly combines all the different signals from our senses into one unified, coherent experience of now. You are feeling that process happen on a cosmic scale as the universe binds itself back together around you. The point expands, regaining the line, the plane, and finally, the glorious, familiar depth of your own room. And you are home. The blossoming of reality resolves into the gentle, familiar sensations of your own quiet room. Feel the steady, solid support of the mattress beneath you. Notice the specific weight and texture of your blanket, a comforting pressure that anchors you to this place, this moment. The air in the room has a distinct temperature, a subtle taste. The faint, ambient sounds of the night are no longer a distraction, but a quiet confirmation that you have returned. The grand cosmic journey is over, and you have landed with impossible softness right back where you started. But something is different. The journey has not been erased. It has been integrated. The vast silence of the cosmic library has merged with the quiet of your room. The profound darkness you witnessed between the stars and between the timelines now resides peacefully behind your closed eyelids. The experience has not made you feel small in the face of infinity. Instead, it has expanded your own inner space, leaving you with a sense of deep and unshakable perspective. The problems and worries that seemed so large before have found their proper scale, small motes of dust in the grand, quiet architecture of it all. In a way, this entire journey has been an exploration of a very real place within you. Your brain has a system called the default mode network. It's a collection of brain regions that becomes most active when you are not focused on any external task, when you are resting, daydreaming, recalling memories, or imagining the future. It is the network of the self, the storyteller of your mind. Tonight, you simply gave it a new, vast, and wonderful story to tell itself. You journeyed through the dimensions by activating the very part of your brain designed for inward exploration. This brings us to a final, curious idea, a fringe theory called biocentrism. It proposes that the universe itself is not a separate, objective thing that we happen to inhabit. It suggests instead that life and consciousness are not accidental byproducts of physics, but are fundamental to its very existence. That reality is a process that requires a conscious observer to bring it into being. From this perspective, your journey was not just a metaphor. Your consciousness was not just a visitor in the library of reality. It was a co-author, a necessary reader, without whom the story could not even be said to exist. And so we end where we must, at the greatest unanswered question of all. Neuroscientists and philosophers still debate the hard problem of consciousness. Why do we have this inner movie at all? Why does the complex firing of neurons, the intricate dance of chemicals in our brain, feel like something? Why is there a subjective, personal experience of the color red, the warmth of the sun, or the quiet stillness of a room at night? We do not have the answer, but the fact that you can ask the question, that you can be here now, experiencing this, is the final and most profound miracle. Now, let the ideas go. Let the dimensions flatten and fade. Let the library shelves dissolve into dust. Let the books and their infinite stories recede. They were just a vehicle, a beautiful boat to carry you across the ocean of your own mind. But you have arrived at the shore. The journey is done. All that is left now is to rest. And so, you allow the memory of the journey to soften and blur, its sharp details fading into a gentle, abstract feeling of peace. The vastness of space, both inner and outer, now becomes a simple, comforting quiet. There is nothing left to explore, nothing left to understand. There is only the simple physical reality of your body, resting. Feel the gentle pull of sleep, as real and as natural as the pull of gravity. It is a slow, downward drift, a journey into a different kind of void, one of a deep and dreamless peace. Your thoughts, like distant stars, grow dimmer and further apart, their light fading into the soft, velvet blackness of oncoming rest. Each breath is a quiet wave, washing over you, carrying away the last remnants of the day, the last echoes of the story. You are sinking now, deeper and deeper into comfort, into stillness. The world outside, the universe outside can wait. For now, there's only this gentle rhythm, this slow descent into the safety and the silence of your own restorative sleep. Let it all go, drifting now, sinking, deeper. Rest.